Why Edinburgh feels like a fantasy novel.
The small one's 13 years old, and the middle one.
I didn't come to Edinburgh to make a travel video. I came because this city feels like someone painted my dreams and forgot to wake me up. I spent 3 days in Edinburgh and it felt like stepping into a painting. Hi, I am Veronica Winters, an artist who chases light in visionary art. And Edinburgh, it's a pure fantasy novel for painters. Every corner begs to be sketched, cobble streets are older than some countries, giant stone buildings rising to the sky like they are telling history about the 16th century. I thought I saw beauty until Edinburgh burst me open. Edinburgh's history unfolds like a painting in layers of volcanic rock, smoke, and northern light. The city began on an extinct volcano that became Castle Rock around 8500 BC. By the 7th century, a hill fort, Dean Aidan, crowned it. The dramatic silhouette, steep, dark, monumental, unyielding, has obsessed artists ever since. Pro tip from a creative visitor. Bring a tiny watercolor kit to sketch the colossal castle-like city, palace, and parks in May or June, the best time of the year. Visit the Scottish National Galleries, they are free. I have a separate video on that. Check it out after this one. The 19th and 20th centuries brought the Scottish colorists together to paint the northern beauty. In the Middle Ages, the Immortal town clung to the ridge between castle and Holyrood like a dark brushstroke. Houses rose to 6 stories in vertical stacking, leaning over narrow closes so tightly that daylight barely reached the cobblestones. Craftsmen and tradesmen alike lived in limited spaces of vertical chaos, monumental houses built upward to accommodate the growing city. By the 1500s, Edinburgh was Scotland's capital, a crowded, stinking, brilliant place. Edinburgh is even more beautiful than in the movies. Forget the guidebook highlights for a second. Walk down the Royal Mile, enormous stone houses, lovely people, pure magic. This place feels like the Lord of the Rings, but 5 minutes from Starbucks. Mary King's clothes on the Waltz tour doesn't allow photography or video inside, but offers a glimpse into hardship, sickness, work, and hope of Scottish people centuries ago. Visit one of the most beautiful medieval churches in Europe, St Giles, on the High Street, unique stained glass windows and Scottish spirit.
Severely damaged by fire in 1385, most of the building was rebuilt in the 14th-15th centuries, featuring its crown-shaped tower added in the 1490s.
Founded in 1124 by King David I, the rising church over the Royal Mile has been open for over 900 years.
The Scottish Reformation came there in 1559 with John Knox preaching there, and it was a site of significant events. For example, it hosted state funerals, including that of the Marquis of Monroe's, and witnessed royal drama, including riots over a new prayer book. Today, it's a working church of the Church of Scotland, not technically a cathedral as it lacks a bishop, but remains central to Scottish life. The Thistle Chapel was added in 1909, and it's Scotland's only private chapel for the Order of the Thistle, the nation's highest chivalric order founded by James III. Designed by the architect Robert Lorimier, it's a masterpiece of Scottish Gothic, filled with unique features like angels playing bagpipes.
Walk through Greyfriars Kirkyard at twilight. Visit a Harry Potter store and cafe to experience magic. Hike Arthur's Seat in Holyrood Park. This ancient extinct volcano offers breathtaking views of the palace and busy Scottish city life.
Check the schedule and buy your tickets for Palace of Holyrood House in advance. It is the official residence of the British monarch in Scotland, and it's located at the bottom of the Royal Mile in Edinburgh.
Another high point of the city is Calton Hill, the headquarters of the Scottish government. Quiet moments on Calton Hill can't be skipped. An entire fortress city spreads below in the picture-perfect, warm, welcoming sunset.
Now today we ask for an £8 donation for the large one and a £5 donation for the small one. Your take photographs, we appreciate a small donation in the box.
Visit the castle standing on Castle Rock since the Iron Age. The Immortal Castle shares historical conflicts, wars, and the crown jewels of Scottish monarchs with numerous visitors today. At the top, the city spreads beneath you like someone spilled diamonds across black velvet. Powerful, emotional, real. Depending on the hour, you can enjoy a colorful play of brown stone streets, green trees, and deep blue sea and sky. I came up here to make a discovery and snap pictures for my future art, but realized the city had already been painting me.
Edinburgh Castle is one of the oldest fortified castles in Europe. It used to be a royal residence, prison, fortress, and military garrison. You have to climb Castle Hill to get there. When you get inside, you get a much better understanding of the Scottish history. There are a lot of displays honoring soldiers and military. The castle also houses the Scottish crown jewels and the Stone of Destiny, but you cannot take pictures inside. There is a very long line to get there, but it goes by very quickly. It's in this castle Mary, Queen of Scots, gave birth to her son James in 1566. And while this castle resembles a Harry Potter films, the movie wasn't filmed there, but it's very clear that J.K. Rowling was inspired by several streets in Edinburgh. And although Mary Queen of Scots did live in this castle, her main residence was the Royal Palace, the Palace of Holyrood House. Plan to spend 2-3 hours inside the castle.
Edinburgh faced political decline after 1603 when the court moved to London, and in 1767 a young architect, James Craig, won a competition to build a new town across the valley. Broad streets, elegant squares, pales and stone terraces, Edinburgh suddenly had perfect neoclassical bones beneath its Gothic skin. It became the center of culture and finance. If you have 3 hours, visit the National Museum of Scotland, a fascinating blend of Scottish medieval history, culture, archaeology, geology, science, technology, art, and curiosity. Spend 2-3 hours there. Long nights that made me smile. Eat Cullen skin, a haggis, Scotch pies, millionaire shortbread, anything with whiskey in it. Drink hot chocolate with Baileys when you feel cold. Listen, there is live traditional music every single night. Let it mesmerize you. In the late 18th century, Scotland experienced cultural revival. Scientists like the chemist Joseph Black and engineers like James Watt became leaders in science and industrialization. Scientific and industrial changes somewhat eroded the religious beliefs that had previously guided society for centuries. Intoxicating romanticism arrived with Sir Walter Scott and Robert Burns in literature. He mythologized Scotland's past and turned Edinburgh into a stage set of tartan and legend. The Scott Monument, a soaring Gothic spire on Princess Street, still looks like something drawn in pen and ink by a vivid Victorian hand. The ancient city rises over the sunlit trees like in a medieval manuscript. In the late 19th century, people expressed a lot of interest in artists and their craft. Local national artists were raised to celebrity status, sharing their behind-the-scenes painting process in their studios. That generated and convinced art collectors to make a sound investment in art. After all, these marketing principles stayed the same across decades and even centuries. Edinburgh felt like stepping into a painting. Really, I'm not making it up. The whole city is a living canvas, performers, painters, tourists spilling into the streets. For centuries, artists have tried to capture it and never quite succeeded. The city always keeps one shadow, one slant of light, one impossible angle still waiting to be drawn. You can't call Edinburgh a regular European town. It's haunted, proud, ancient, mysterious, beautiful, alive. It makes you want to create. It makes you fall stupidly in love with the city you just met. I didn't take a ton of pretty pictures, but Edinburgh gave me more than awesome views. It reminded me why I started painting in the first place. If you're tired, lost, or just need to feel something again, come here. This city still believes in light, love, and magic. And for 3 days, it made me believe again too. So if you ever wanted to feel like the main character in a novel, come here, bring a sketchbook and an open heart. Edinburgh will do the rest. The most fascinating city in Europe is yours. I can promise you that Edinburgh is even more beautiful than the movies. Drop a heart if the city lives in your soul now too.
Reformation to Revolution in Scotland. The following information comes from the museum's description in Scotland. At the beginning of the 16th century, Scotland was a Catholic state governed by the Stuart dynasty, who later spelled their name Stuart. By the close of the 17th century, the monarchy, church, and parliament had all changed drastically. After 1603, the Stuarts, now based in London, were absentee rulers, and the nature of kingship was itself increasingly contested. The huge upheavals of the Reformation saw Protestantism become the nation's official religion. The collapse of the old church and the dispersal of its lands and wealth brought about a major shift of power and income. New landed classes vied with established noble families for status and influence. These complex changes had important cultural consequences. With religious painting no longer acceptable, there was an increase in demand for secular art forms, portraiture in particular. This coincided with a growing merchant and professional class beginning to commission works of art to display their increased ambition and economic strength. Painted portraits were expensive, and those who acquired them came from the wealthiest levels of society, both old and new. These men and women used portraits to assert ideas of social status, as well as to record an individual likeness. Their images played a significant role in the struggles for power, identity, and nationhood during this period. Between 1760 and 1860, Scotland's place in the world was dramatically transformed. With the collapse of the Jacobite cause after the Battle of Culloden in 1746, Scots became less politically divided and began to focus instead on cultural, economic, and personal advancement. Edinburgh and Glasgow became centers of philosophical and scientific thought. Scotland's trade with Britain's vast overseas empire expanded dramatically. Improving, landowners and adventurous entrepreneurs developed new products and processes. With growing confidence and ambition, Scots now took their place across the wider world as soldiers, sailors, and traders, as poets, novelists, and artists, and as politicians and administrators. And while they did so, they took increasing pride in their own identity, a development that bore fruit in the poetry and novels of Scotland's great Romantic writers. But this transformation came at great cost. The new imperial economy was built on slavery and warfare, while Industrialization destroyed established trades, and the mining and burning of coal ravaged the natural environment. In the later 18th century, able colonial administrators, such as the lawyer Sir Thomas Strange, sought to apply enlightened principles to their work. However, the Atlantic triangular trade was taking thousands of slaves from Africa to the plantations of North America and the Caribbean, and shipping slave-produced sugar, rum, and tobacco to the British Isles. The plantation trade enriched Glasgow's merchant elite and provided secure incomes for the thousands of middle and upper-class Scots with plantation investments. Others, however, were moved by the sufferings of slaves such as George Dale. Often drawing strength from deeply held religious and moral principles, they opposed the appalling human cost of the slave trade in the face of fierce resistance. Abolitionists, including the prominent Scottish liberal lawyer and politician Lord Brougham, finally brought slavery to an end in 1838.
Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you feel inspired to visit beautiful places and next week explore France, the Louvre or Metz.